All right, good morning, Abraham. Thank you. My question is about vibrational escrow and the relationship of vibrational escrow to your comment about action. And it's my understanding that, well, vibrational escrow sounds a lot like the word karma. And karma sounds like life is predetermined. And so...
Well, as long as you understand that it's predetermined by you.
Yes, and that really relates to what I hear you saying about letting go of the oars. And as a very wise friend once said to me, yes, your life is determined, you just must live as if it's not. And so I have really two questions. One is about the question of vibrational escrow and how that influences my actions on a moment-to-moment basis. And my understanding is there's no power greater than right action in the present. And a right action for me, as I'm understanding as you speak, is an action that is in vibrational alignment with who I am and what makes me tick.
Well, we would word that just a little differently. We would if you're wanting to use the word right action, we would say, since you are where you are, and you just can't get around that, you are wherever you are. So right action is the action, the thought, the word that feels the best from where you are. And we have to emphasize not the best you've ever felt, because you can't necessarily feel the best you've ever felt from where you are. Just the best you can feel from where you are is the right action. The right action is leaning in the direction of who you are. Because we think that what goes wrong with a lot of people is they want to be over there, but they're over here. But they're so unhappy that they're not over there that they can't get over there. In other words, if you want to be over there and you're just so unhappy that you're over here, and you say, oh, I've got to get the right action going so that I can be over there, it turns you upstream every time. But if you make peace with where you are, that's the first right action. That make peace with where you are in an attitude of reaching for the best feeling thought you can find. Now you begin moving in the direction of.
And so the second part of my question really is about wanting to flow pure knowledge on the planet. That's my way of saying, looking at what Esther's doing, for example. And it's something that I have experienced and would like to do, and I've heard you talk about that we all already do that. And so my hearing that the way to facilitate that or augment that to happen in my life would be to have that feeling of right action as you described.
Yes, and that perfectly said. And by that, you see, everyone is an extension of source energy, and everyone has access to infinite intelligence. All you have to do is tune yourself to the vibrational frequency of that. Esther achieved it through 9 months of meditation. 9 months of meditating every day for 15 or 20 minutes. So, in other words, as you quiet thought, you stop resistance. As you stop resistance, you go with the flow of who you are. As you quiet your mind, you stop resistance. As you stop resistance, you go with the flow of who you are. We teach meditation because it's easier to teach you to have no thought than to have pure positive thought. So when you release resistance, you let go of the oars, you go with the flow of who you are. And so think about the second part of your question in relationship with the first part of your question. So let's say that you are new to this intention of coming into vibrational alignment with the intention of this powerful word flowing through you. And you're new at it and insecure with it. Well, your insecurity is a mismatch to the security of your source energy. So if you're worried that you're not doing it right, if you're comparing yourself with others, if you're jealous that somebody else is doing it, if you're fearful that it won't happen to you, if you feel doubt about what you're doing, you're upstream and it's never going to get any better. But if instead you are saying things to yourself like, well, I'm new at this and I'm enjoying it and I'm looking forward to it and all things in good time. And I'm sure everyone who's now experiencing the full blossoming of that was at one time where I am just beginning. So as you make peace with where you are, in the beginning, Esther said to us on many, many occasions, she doesn't ask it anymore because she knows now, but she would say, Abraham, I'm wanting to speak clearly your words. And am I? And our response to her was always the same. It's perfect. It's perfect. Even though we knew and know that with every word she speaks, her ability to speak for us becomes clearer and better. In other words, she tunes herself to the vibrational frequency of us to the degree that every nuance that we are offering to her vibrationally, she is receiving and knowing exactly how to translate it. In other words, the subtleties of what we mean to say are being spoken to perfection and getting better, you see. But we did not say to her way back then in the beginning, because what she spoke was powerful. In other words, it's still the tenet of this basis of what we are teaching now. This book, Law of Attraction, came right from those first days of us interacting with Jerry in response to the questions that he was offering, you see. And so it was good in the beginning and getting better. And that's the thing that we want you to say to yourself, no matter what. I'm doing fine where I am and it will become more. I'm doing perfectly where I am and it will become more. And in that attitude of improvement, think about that relative to anything. As you make peace with where you are, it has to get better. If you are uncomfortable about where you are, it can't get better. It is defiant of what's in your vibrational escrow. Helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now what?
I have a historical question. My partner and I have both benefited tremendously from your guidance, Abraham, and we're enjoying it and living in it. I'm aware that 40 years ago, I wasn't in a place where I could have understood any of it. And 40 years from now, I probably will be completely non-physical. And I'm just wondering how it happens that Abraham becomes available at this point in human history in the latter part of the 20th and the early part of the 21st century.
What we are offering to you here today is not a new message. It's just being spoken in the vernacular of your now, so it feels new. Non-physical has been calling you toward the fulfillment of who you are for as long as you've been asking. And as long as you've been in existence, you've been asking. So it's been a steady and constant evolution. It's an interesting thing because even in the work that Jerry and Esther have been doing, in allowing us to flow through their process in response to so many questions, in the early days, Esther made Jerry promise not to tell anyone because the whole thing just felt too odd to her. It was such an interesting thing for her to relax and feel a clarity and a power sweep through her that was beyond anything that she had known. She knew that something amazing was happening, but she did not know how others would feel about it. In fact, she was pretty sure she did know how others would feel about it. And so Jerry kept his promise for a week. Not much longer than that, because he was so excited about what was happening. But in the early days, it was the power of Jerry's wanting to know, the questions that he had accumulated over the years that he had lived that far, that were at the basis of what was being evoked from Abraham. Then, little by little, Jerry could not contain himself because the clarity and the power of what was being offered was so strong. So he began inviting a person here and a person here until there began to be a few hundred people that were gathering round, that were wanting to hear. And some of you even here in this city remember coming when there were 20 or 30 or 40 people that were wanting to have this conversation. We said to Jerry and Esther right from the beginning, there will never be a crowd on this leading edge of thought. And it truly is just that, a leading edge of thought. Then, as more and more people begin hearing us speaking about law of attraction, as they begin hearing us offering our explanation of why you are here and the power and the reason for your beingness, more and more began asking. And then when the movie The Secret came out, when they came to Jerry and Esther and asked if they could build a movie, it was going to be a television movie around their work, Jerry and Esther were hesitant about it at first in the sense that they understood that the world might not be ready for it. But the brilliant producer knew the way to express it. In other words, she expressed it in a way that much of the world then could begin to feel the power of the law of attraction. And now what is happening? There are millions of people around the world that are now asking, I'm hearing about this law of attraction, and I innately at many levels of my being can feel that it is true. And I do understand to some degree that I do get what I think about, but it feels to me like my thoughts are controlling me. I'm having a hard time controlling my thoughts. And so just recently, even in the last few months, there has been an upheaval of request, a sort of worldwide swelling of, all right, if I am the creator of my own reality, and if this law of attraction thing is a real thing, how do I apply it? How do I know what I'm doing? People are afraid of their thoughts. Cancel. They're trying to suck their thoughts back before law of attraction gets hold of them. And so in answer to all of that asking, we've now written another book, the most leading edge book, that helps these people that are now understanding that law of attraction abounds and that they do create their own reality, how to utilize the guidance that comes forth from within in order to guide themselves so that they are not like a cork that is bobbing about on a raging sea. We appreciate your question so much because it gives us the opportunity to say, with the emphasis that we so much want to impart, there is nothing that ever comes without asking. And it is life experience that brings about the asking. And when you ask, Source always answers without exception. The question is, are you in the vibrational proximity to hear the answer? And it is only through the utilization and conscious, deliberate understanding of what your emotions mean that you can deliberately choose the thoughts that get you into vibrational alignment with who you are, so that you can then live the life that you came forth to live. You never, not one of you said, I'll go forth, I'll separate myself from who I am, and I'll bang around in this physical experience. Not one of you said that. You all said, I'll go forth, I'll explore, I'll know what I don't want, I'll know what I do want, and I'll use the guidance that comes forth from within in order to live the fulfillment of what life has caused me to know that I want. It's such a perfect plan. You have come forth with such powerful reason. It is such fun to play with you. And we want to say to you that this question has never been asked before in this way. The combination of that which you are and that which we are has never been before unto all of the universe. It is truly a leading edge creation. And you all knew that too. None of you came as regurgitators. You all came forth as creators. And creators you are. Something more?
I could refine it just a little. And that is, were other non-physical entities such as the Alice Bailey or the Seth closely related to Abraham?
Chips off the same block.
That's what I like to hear. Thank you very much.
And the resonance within you tells you that. In other words, and isn't it nice that one thing leads to another and to another and to another and to another and to another? Isn't it nice that there is no end to the understanding or the expansion? Yes, indeed.
It is. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.